Elliott Shore Parks. Bet the birds.
Super
We're
Bowl
going to the
edition.
Super Bowl,
Super Bowl
Elliott.
edition. Super Bowl edition.
Wow, one of many to come this week. Let's just jump right into it. The buzz today and yesterday.
Yeah.
You were there at practice, right?
Yep.
Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham is back at practice. He's got a chance to play. They opened up the window for Brandon Graham just yesterday. Let me ask you this. Brandon Graham or Bryce Huff? Who is Vic Fangio going to play? And who's the bigger gamble on playing? I mean, at this point,
yeah, it's going to be Brandon Graham. Vic Fangio has spoken really highly of Brandon all year. Brandon's played at a really high level when he has played this year. And you don't let Brandon Graham get to this point of activating him in terms of allowing him to practice. The doctor's allowing him to practice. The team being okay with it. And then tell him he can't play. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, nothing happens between now and the final practice prior to the Super Bowl, which will be next week in New Orleans. But yeah, the answer is Brandon Graham. Getting Brandon back for this team is going to be absolutely huge emotionally, but it's also going to be huge if he can go out there and play at the level he has this year. He was this team's arguably best run defender. He was really good getting after the quarterback this year. He was probably their best edge guy when he went down. So it's hard to envision him coming back and playing at that level, but he can definitely play better than however Vic Fangio thinks Bryce Huff's going to play. So I think that getting Brandon back is going to be huge. And yeah, I expect him to play and be active in the Super Bowl.
Should we maybe get a little boost at Bet Parks on maybe a Brandon Graham sack?
I think so.
I think we need to come up with a boost for Brandon Graham to have a sack. It's not available yet because it's so, up in the air whether or not he's going to play. So maybe next week we'll have to come up with a Brandon Graham to record a sack boost in the Super Bowl.
And he's been pretty good in Super Bowls. So I think I like his chance of making a play in this one.
That's what I'm saying. All right. I got to ask you this question here. I mean, coming into this season, Jalen Hurts, tons of question marks. I mean, the guy has been through the ringer. I guess it's just the territory that comes with being the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this should prove everybody, 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, lay off the guy, right? But I just want to ask you, in terms of legacy, what could it mean to Jalen Hurts winning the Super Bowl?
So we talked so much about where does Jalen belong in the quarterback rankings because he wins all the time, but some people think he hasn't contributed enough. His stats are good, but here's the bottom line.
Manager, system quarterback.
Exactly, right. If Jalen wins the Super Bowl, this Super Bowl against the Chiefs, he belongs as the number 2 ranked quarterback in the NFL. Above Josh Allen, above Lamar Jackson, above whoever else you want to say besides Patrick Mahomes. And here's why. Is Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, are they better quarterbacks than Jalen? They're probably better quarterbacks than Jalen. But we always just give Mahomes the number 1 spot. He's not that much better than Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, but we always give it to him. And why do we give it to him? Because he's won Super Bowls. Because he's won Super Bowls. If Jalen has a Super Bowl ring, when Josh Allen doesn't, Lamar Jackson doesn't, Joe Burrow doesn't, CJ Stroud doesn't, Jaden Daniels doesn't, then he belongs ahead of them. If they win the game, if they beat the Chiefs, Jalen deserves and should be recognized as the number 2 quarterback in the NFL. I don't care he's in the NFC. I don't care that he doesn't have to go through those other guys. The NFC was considered better than the AFC going into these playoffs. We can't change our mind on it now. So if Jalen wins, number 2 quarterback in the NFL.
I love it. I love it. I love it. This is going to be my follow-up question. Nick Sirianni, same thing, coming into the season, a lot of question marks. People wanted this guy gone. People wanted Sirianni gone in the middle of the season. What would it mean to Nick Sirianni? What would it mean to Sirianni's legacy if he pulls this off and he stops the Chiefs from the three-peat?
Yeah, it's the same I would say with Jalen. If Nick ends this season with the Super Bowl ring on his finger, there's no more, oh, he's silly on the sideline. What does he do? He doesn't call the plays. He's emotional. His kids are at the podium. No. If Nick wins his Super Bowl, you have to look at him in the same way you do Jalen, which is one of the top, whatever you want to say, 3, 2, I mean, Andy probably still gets that one spot, much like Mahomes does. But regardless, you give Nick that same type of credit. He's got to be number 2 as well. Like, the results are the results. And to go to the Super Bowl 2 times in 3 years is an unbelievable accomplishment. And you win that Super Bowl, yeah, at this point, we're talking about probably the best head coach in the history of the Eagles. Andy certainly, I think, has done a ton. But if he wins this one, he passes Doug because he'll tie Doug, and he's had more success than Doug has. And at a certain point, going to 2 when Andy went to 1 and winning 1 when Andy didn't has to matter. So if Nick wins this, he goes down as the best head coach in franchise history.
Wow, the best head coach in Eagles franchise history if Nick Sirianni wins the game. Not too much pressure, I would say,
yeah, exactly.
Elliott Shore Parks. All right, but that's what I want to talk about next. Elliott, being around these guys, being around this team after the big win against the Commanders, NFC champs, hanging around the team this week, what are the vibes headed into this game? Are they scared of the big bad Chiefs? These guys, they just supremely confident. They think they're going to just roll. What's the feeling you kind of get from this team? A lot of guys overlapping from Super Bowl 57 till now. What are you seeing down at the NovaCare this week from the players?
Yeah, I think this is a big game team. And it's a big game team because they have big game players. If you look at who's on this roster, they have played in big games and they have won big games. I know they didn't win the Super Bowl, but they've won 2 NFC championships. They went to Brazil. They won that one. Thursday night against Washington for the division. They won that one. In the snow in the playoffs, they won that one. Like, every time we look at this team and go, this is a really big spot, how are they going to handle it? They handle it well, and they handle it almost to perfection. And they do that because they have players who have played in big games. Even though the young players like Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, like, these guys haven't played in the Super Bowl yet, but guess what? They played in some pretty big games in college as well. So
true.
My vibe I get being around the team is they're the same they always are. I don't think they're scared of the stage. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by it. I think they embrace it and they're excited about it. So there's an excitement around the team that they're going to the Super Bowl. There's a feeling of the chance they have here. I do not sense any hesitation or worry or anything. I think they're going to go out and they're going to play really well.
And what a jolt they're going to get from BG being back in the lineup. That is huge. All right. Where are we at with these injuries to the Eagles offensive line? Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson. I mean, man, if there's anybody that is thankful for this long wait, which I am not for this big game, I know it's those 2 guys. Where are we at with those 2 guys? Should we be concerned? There's no chance that these guys are going to miss Super Bowl 59, right?
No, I think I think you're going to see Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens play in this game. And the team will once again be extremely healthy. In 2022, we always said, well, you're never going to have 2022 starters all available, all 20.
Right.
You kind of do again. It happened again, right? They are a very healthy team. Now they're dealing with, I think, more injuries than that team was. A back injury for Cam, the knee injury for Landon. Like, those are tough to recover from. But I think that ultimately they're a very healthy team. So they still have some practices. We'll see how they come out of it. But the Eagles are going into this game full throttle, ready to go.
Kellen Moore, he's the odds-on favorite to be the next Saints coach in New Orleans. I mean, the game is in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Not a good setup, really, for the Eagles. We've been down that road before.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a distraction, Elliott?
No, I don't think it's going to be a distraction. Look, he already interviewed this past Monday. I don't think he's interviewing again until the game. I didn't think it was a distraction when Gannon did it. I think people use that as an excuse for the fact that the defense got beat by the best head coach and quarterback of all time. So I don't view it as a distraction. I don't think it's something that's going to impact this team. Next year, in this offseason, we'll talk about it. Who replaces them? How do they go about that? But for these next 10 days or wherever we're at right now, no, I don't view it as a distraction at all.
All right, my last question for you, and I'm going to let you get out of here. From a gambling perspective, I'm looking at this total, all right? Yeah. The total 49.5. This last Super Bowl that the Eagles and the Chiefs met up in was an absolute shootout, right?
Yeah.
Tons of points, marching up and down the field. Jalen Hurts played probably the best game of his entire career, especially throwing the ball. Mahomes played great. I think that this game's going to go under, though. I think we have 2 really, really good defenses, and I think that both of these teams are okay with, limiting the possessions of the other team, especially the Eagles. I think they're going to be able to control the football. They're going to keep the ball away from Patty Mahomes, try to get up more than one possession, and that's going to be the blueprint to success for winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What do you think of the over-under 49.5 and going under?
So I'm leaning the over here because I know that when you look at it, the defenses are great. I get that. And the Chiefs have only scored over 30 points one time this year. That's not great. But when did they score those 30 points? Last week when they needed to. And so ultimately in the big game, I think there's more talent on the Eagles offensive side of the ball than there is the defensive side of the ball. And I think there's more talent probably on the Chiefs offensive side of the ball as well. Do I think Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are going to get shut down by the Eagles defense in this game? I would bet against it. Do I think that Jalen Hurts is going to have a bad Super Bowl? I would bet against it. So I think that's a relatively low over-under. I think that it could definitely, they could top it in the first half. Like, I think there is going to be a lot of points scored in this game. So I would take the over in that one.
Elliot disagrees with me on the under bet. All right, we're off to a good start here.
They call you Maniac for a reason. So
I know. That's why they call me the Maniac. All right, well, we got plenty of stuff to go over. You'll be down in New Orleans all next week. Elliot, continue to do a great job for us. Bet the birds all the way to Bourbon Street. Elliot, we'll talk to you soon, and keep doing a great job.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon, man.